How to recover from lost daylight. So when you're on an outdoor film set, it's very common for the sun to work against you. It's actually it's a guarantee. The sun, time, the clock, everybody, just everything that can go wrong usually goes wrong on film sets. And if it goes too smoothly, something is off. The film gods are really in your favor, or just you got really lucky. But for the most part, it gets very difficult getting the sun to work with you. So what do you do when you're losing daylight, right? Let's say that you're filming a movie, and you have 30 shots, okay, on your shot list. You set up everything, you've gotten things into position, you're working on your project, and then all of a sudden you start watching the sun just go down, and it feels like it's just racing down, and you're like 10, 12, 20 shots behind. How are you going to save the shoot? Let's say that you're on a competition set. Let's say that it's a school project. Let's say that it's just this is your day. This is the end of your day. An actor has to leave. Something big is going to happen, and you are out of time. How are you going to make this work? How are you going to finish your day like you were planned? You're going to need to lose some things. Now, this has happened to me on many occasions, and it actually has ruined a couple movies where I did lose the entire movie because I didn't prep. I didn't prep smart enough. I also was too worried about losing things. I didn't want to lose these shots. I didn't want to lose this performance. I didn't want to lose this ability to try to be experimental. And the truth of it is, it has to turn to a business sense. You're still trying to get quality out, but sometimes you do have to now pivot, and you're going to lose certain things. So if you were to take this as an analogy and say you were making a sandwich, right? But you're making a sandwich, and the customer or your boss or somebody all of a sudden put an instant deadline on you. You have to get the sandwich out right now. You have 30 seconds. You're no longer able to make sure that it looks super pristine, super crisp, super nice, right? You're no longer allowed to make sure that the flavor is just right, the seasoning is just right, this and that. So what do you focus on, right? Do you focus on the visual, or do you focus on the flavor? What do you choose to go, okay, this is what it is. I gotta make the best that I can make out of what I have and the time frame that I have to do it in. So what am I gonna do? You have to make that decision as soon as possible. Now, when it comes to as soon as possible, the stress levels of being a filmmaker are intense and can get extremely intense. So my advice is always take a minute. You have 1 minute. 1 minute is 60 seconds. 60 seconds doesn't seem like a lot of time, but at the same time, it is a lot of time. Now, if you're being emotional and you're wasting that time freaking out, then that 60 seconds is going to go by, and you're going to be in the same position as you were in, and it's just not going to help you. But if you're to take that 60 seconds and go, I have 60 seconds to breathe and answer this question. Be silent. Shut your mouth. Stop talking. Stop worrying. Get away from the set. Me, I've completely left. I've said, hey, I need a second, right? And I've gotten in my car and driven over around the corner and just sat there for a minute, literally a minute, and then came right back and had the answer. Now, maybe you don't have the answer, but you have the calmness and the step away to go, all right, let me just kind of fan the flames out for a second, get a little bit of air, and then go back into it. And then you will be better in a frame of mind to be able to answer that question. So the answer to most questions when it comes to loss of daylight and like a shot list, or a performance or extra takes, is anything that's extra, anything that's unique, anything that's out of the box that was going to be so cool, get rid of. Cut it right there. You don't need to be wasting time adding in different things or trying it this way or trying it that way. There's been many sets that I've been a part of where they decide to do like 2 different accents, and so it's like one accent is Boston and the other accent is regular American, and you're like, every set that you have to do, every shot that you do, you have to do it twice. And then they're trying to get into this zone and then also switch over to this zone real quick and then go back. And it's so much for the actor to do, and it's unnecessary. You need to choose. That should be all done in pre-production. Depending on how good your pre-production was and how it is how easy this solve is going to be for you. If you have really good pre-production, this will be easier because you'll be able to look at it and go, okay, I'm going to lose all of this, but maybe I can pick that up in this scene later on. Or if this is the short, I'm going to go to this style instead. So I have these things done, but I'm going to switch it to this. And you might even want to go back and reshoot that in that style. when it comes to the loss of the sun, positioning is everything. The sun and the lighting is really going to be obvious when it changes in the film. People will notice. There's so many people out there that love to do that continuity checkups where they're like, oh, look at this, they have a soda can over here, or oh, there's a vehicle in the back, or oh, look at the sun is not in the same position. It's a way to just take them right out of it, and you would like to avoid those things. So you may need to switch everything up. You may have the entire scene right there, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, we got to reshoot, do it in this style instead, because we're no longer going to have that, and we lost that. So it takes all that footage, almost all of it, and literally kills it. There's a cool story and a uniqueness though, that this film director Adam Green had, where he was working on the set of Hatchet, and they were shooting this one scene, and there was all this rain. And so they shot all these actors, shots, all these frames, and they got this performance done. And then all of a sudden, when they got the other actor to show up, and he showed up on his time, the rain stopped. So they were freaking out. What they did is they shot it just a little bit tighter, and they shot it darker, and they added the rain sound effects. And it's really hard to notice. Like, it's really hard to tell. I actually didn't notice it until he'd said something in one of his podcasts. And so there are always different things you can do, or maybe that is the answer for it, where you're going to take your lighting and you're going to bring them closer to the wall. You're going to bring a bunch of bounce boards or whatever you can, and you're going to really just try to light that spot and do it like that, right? And kind of hide it. And then you're going to try to hide it like that. There are also different methods that you could use, where maybe you decided, you know what, we're going to do this scene where I'm going to, instead of putting it here, I'm actually put it in this car, and we're going to light it like this. We're going to do this. Now if you have no lights and it was only the sun, you might need to reshoot and do a one-take thing. Hopefully the actors know what they're doing, they know their lines, they know their stuff, to where that's not going to cause too much of a problem. But the fact is, pivoting, altering. When you don't do that, when you just go, okay, we're just going to get this done as fast as we can, the quality will diminish, and then that mistake will be super noticeable. And that's the last thing that you want. You don't want your mistakes to be that noticeable. So you really need to be aware of that as that situation is going on. Sometimes it's not your fault. That doesn't mean it's not your problem. It is your problem. So now you have to solve it. And solving it the best way that you can, put your ego aside, put your emotions to the side, get it done to the best quality that you can make it. Focus on one aspect of it, whether it's, the appearance or whether it's the quality of the performance. Choose one and focus on that. And that is how you'll be able to kind of get through that problem. Most times.